outgrowing people and how to navigate that as you journey through life. Welcome to the NOIRPOISED podcast, where wisdom is power is more than just a motto.
It's our way of life.
So you know what's one thing we don't talk enough about?
What?
Outgrowing people and how to navigate that as you journey through life while still keeping them to some extent,
Yeah.
right? And it happens with family, it happens with friends. And I know we had an episode in season 1 that discussed like maintaining relationships or relationship maintenance and how it looks within relationships and outside relationships. But one thing that occurs as you become an adult that is often overlooked, in my opinion, is how the dynamic of your friendships and your family relationships change over time, especially when you go out to live your own life and start your own life, so on and so forth. So yeah, what's your experience with that? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's not always a negative thing. It could be a positive thing for both sides, but society makes it seem like it's a negative thing. Like growing apart means there's something that's pushing you apart when that's not necessarily the case. I've had that happen to me just over the course of my life. Like I'm not someone with a lot of friends. You already know.
Yeah.
Like I keep a very low key life. So I've had that happen to me periodically throughout my life. And I never viewed it as a negative way. Like we've grown apart, you know, what happened? You changed or I changed. But I just saw it as, you know, we're in different seasons of our lives and that's just what it is. But I understand why some people may view it as more of a negative than positive.
Yeah. That's very mature. Maybe it's because you didn't have a lot of friends that you have that mindset.
Could be that. Yeah.
I don't know. It was something that I struggled with in my 20s, to be honest with you, because I was used to the people that I was used to.
Yeah.
And I was like, can we just work on what we got? Like, I don't want to make no new friends. I don't know about y'all, but in your 30s, when you become an adult, no one wants new friends.
Yeah.
I know I don't. I still to this day do not want new friends. I think I've probably made one additional friend in the past like 5 years. And I'm like, yeah, this is different. This is weird, but it's okay. But again, in my 20s, it was something I struggled with because I was so used to who I was used to. The people that I have in my life, whether it was family or friends, they've always been there before I hit like puberty kind of situation. You know, like a lot of the people that I'm cool with or was cool with, they came into my life at a very early season. And so when I became an adult, and obviously I'm evolving, they're evolving. I'm not the same person I was when I met them. So I'm sure they're not the same person they were when they met me. It was difficult for me to let go. It took me a long time to realize that's what it was. At first, I thought I was just like, people don't care. But I started realizing over time that it was just my way of dealing with the changes and letting go of what we had when we were younger and then learning how to accept this new version of what we have. I'm in a whole different space now, I'll tell you that. But when I was in my 20s, that was a factor. And I think that's something that a lot of people may experience and go through, especially like in adulthood. You know, friends and family may move to different states. They may find a significant other and start a family. They may start to have different beliefs, which may affect the type of conversations you have. They may start to look at things differently with the world or politically. Like, you know, there's just so many different factors that can lead to a relationship changing. And sometimes it just naturally happens through being busy, through work, you know, and stuff like that.
I do have a follow-up question. I think the key question is, when did you recognize that this is something that you have to start letting go? As far as the relationship,
as far as time frame, or as far as like what
criteria?
Oh, okay. For me, I started realizing it in my 20s. I think I had a hard time accepting it because what I ended up doing is trying to have different type of conversations with people and stuff, and I realized that wasn't working.
Like
when I was being transparent.
You were into, or
no. I started having conversations with those loved ones and expressing that. Like, I thought that was the solution. Like, maybe if I say something, they'll realize it. You know, we can both put in more effort kind of thing. But that didn't work. So it started mainly for me at that part. But I was still unable to let go. I think when I fully was able to be like, like fully accept it and be content and at peace with it happened when I started to focus more on myself. Because I noticed when I was younger, a lot of my relationships I wanted to do for others and I wasn't allowing people to do for me. So from my perspective, and people may have different opinions, but from my perspective, it started to feel like it was one-sided. But then I had to accept that it wasn't their fault, but the way that I was moving didn't allow them to be, if that makes sense. So when I started working more on myself and focusing more on myself and then making a conscious decision that I was going to prioritize my needs, my wants, my future, doing the internal work, that's when I started to find peace in letting go.
Yeah.
It naturally started happening. Like it wasn't even like I'm in my feelings about it. You know what I mean? Because in my 20s, there were periods where I was in my feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when I started doing the work, that's when I started to be more at peace with it. And I started to accept things for what they were, people for who they are. And one thing I also heard that I really take to heart now is expecting something from others that they can't provide you. It's almost like setting them up for failure and setting yourself up for disappointment.
Right.
So being aware to recognize if this person cannot provide what it is that I would like from them, finding a way to accept that, accept who they are, where they're at, love them from there, and find a way to move on from it. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be like friendship over, we ain't talking. No, because people change. And you, just like I'm changing, my friends and my family are changing. So finding a way to
reimagine,
like reinvent the dynamic that we have. Like it doesn't have to be the same way it was when we were 16, 17 or 20, 21 or even 28, 29. It could be different now in our mid 30s, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like understanding that that's occurring and then respecting it for what it is.
Right.
But it happened for me, honestly, when I started focusing on myself. Yeah. Because then it made me focus less on you're not doing and more on, well, what am I doing? You get me? Yeah. So that's what it was.
I think that's pretty important to highlight, because as selfish as this may sound, I think every relationship should be a give and take to some degree. Yeah. It doesn't have to 100%. Be I make you laugh and then you make me laugh, but maybe I make you laugh and, you support me in my businesses, or, mixing it up kind of bit. I would say for me, I started moving on or knew when to move on when I saw that there was an extreme deficit on one way.
So similar to what, like it could be perspective, but feeling like it was one-sided.
Right, feeling like it was one-sided. And again, this doesn't have to be a negative thing, because I like to think of it as just seasons, Maybe your friend or your a family member, someone that you have a relationship with, maybe they can provide you a coat during the winter, metaphorically speaking, but now it's summer, It doesn't mean that they're useless or you should just cut them off, but it's just not the season you're in. And I had to fully understand that and understand that there's nothing wrong with that, because I used to feel guilty about that all the time as well. Like, so it would force me to do things that I wasn't comfortable with doing, or stick around when I didn't really want to stick around. But like, it wasn't until I started prioritizing myself and asking myself, like, how am I enabling this, or what am I doing wrong?
Accountability.
Accountability. That I started to notice, like, it's okay to, drift away.
Yeah. Especially with the seasonal thing, that was a lesson for me too. And I think I mentioned this in an episode where I started feeling like, some friendships or some family member relationships are seasonal in the sense of like, you need me right now, I got you. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's not on some like we're all the time in conversation or we're with each other or knowing what's happening in each other's lives on a regular basis. There are those type of relationships. And I think understanding what type of relationship you have with particular people too, because then you won't have unrealistic expectations of them, and you won't over operate in a role that you're not in. Yeah. That was an important thing for me. Putting myself in the role that I fit in. Right. And being okay with that. Because in my mind before, like when I was younger, I just assumed if you're family, you're a close friend, I got to do it all. Like, you know what I mean? I got to be at every little thing. I got to do this, that. You need me, I'm there. You call me, I pick up. Yeah. Like I had that thinking that I had to do that for everyone because of who they were or how important they were to me. And I got to a space where I understood that like, no, it's okay to operate in the role that they have me in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think that's how sometimes you can get in your feelings is if you start operating outside of your role. So if you have me at level, like you have 3 levels, you have me at level, 3 as the lowest level, I need to operate in that role. I cannot operate at level 1 and I'm getting level 3 results and now I'm in my feelings.
That's deep. So we do level jump in friendship sometimes, and then when we don't get the reaction we want, we do get in our feelings.
That part, that was a thing for me when I was in my 20s too, where I was just like, I feel like I'm operating at this level, but I'm not seeing the results. Like, I don't understand. So accepting that, being okay with it, and then operating where you fall.
Yeah.
Like, I may not be the person that you need there, like, I don't know, after you have like a baby. You know what I mean? Like, I may not be that person, and that's okay. But sis, we gonna send you these flowers. You know what I mean? I'm gonna send you these flowers. I'm gonna check in kind of thing. And I think that's, it's understanding that. But then if you're constantly operating in a role you don't fall in,
right,
I may be like, can I come? Can I come? Can I come? And now I feel a type of way because you didn't let me come. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not the person's fault. Like, it's your fault. Check yourself kind of thing. So understanding that was a big deal. I actually looked up some stats because I think at some point, if you got friends, everybody go through this. Or even if it's not friends, if you have family members, everybody goes through this. As you're evolving, if you're evolving, dynamics change, relationships change. It happens. Like, it's just something that happens. But let me pull up some of the stats I saw. So according to research done in 2023, it says that over our lifetime, we probably make about 29 real friends. That's over our lifetime, our entire life. And only about 6 of them last through the entire journey. And with those 6, it says, this is a different research, but I'm kind of just putting them together. 6 of them last through the distance, but on average, most people tend to have 3 friends for life. Yeah. Like 3 individuals that you keep from beginning to end, And those friends don't necessarily have to be like people who aren't blood related. Sometimes it's like your siblings. Sometimes it's like, family members, a cousin or whatever the case is. But the point is 3 relationships that you keep that stay with you forever is usually the average. Yeah. And that was interesting for me because I was like, dang, 29 people? It sounds a lot, but at the same time, it's just like, we live a long time. Yeah. Like, I'm not even like in adulthood, but I'm thinking more so like including elementary, junior high school, even college. Yeah. Adulthood, I think it makes sense because you usually stick to the ones that you have. You do gain a few extra ones. It's not like a drastic number, but I'm like, dang, that's crazy. 29.
It makes me wonder how people define friendship. So.
Yeah, because they did say real friendships, right? Yeah. So it's not just on some like, we laugh together, so you my friend. No, that's an acquaintance.
Yeah. I actually have a list of the categories of friendships. And the first list, which is the lowest level, is acquaintance. So, people who you recognize, you'll say hi to, but you don't really know them like that. Then casual friends who you share common interests with and you occasionally spend time with them. Then close friends, people who you trust and confide in, sharing personal experiences and providing mutual support. Then best friends, your most trusted and intimate friends with whom you share nearly everything and feel completely comfortable with. And then there's one more level on top of that, which they call the inner circle. So I think sometimes, because I've had people say, this is my friend, and I'm like, I'm glad you just said your name because I didn't know your name. So like, we say hi to each other, we go to the same school, but I wouldn't say,
you're a friend.
You're a friend kind of thing. So it makes me wonder how people define friendships.
I do think people define it differently, and it goes back to communication, understanding that with that person, like where we stand and what it is, because that does happen, and it's awkward if someone's like, "Yeah, this is like my bestie," and you're like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know that." Yeah. But I don't know. To me personally, as an adult now, I kind of think that's all like childish. Yeah, just my opinion. I just think it's childish to be like doing all that title stuff. It's just like, I have people that I'm cool with. I love them all, and I know where you fall. It doesn't mean that like you're this, you're that, whatever. It's just, I know where I stand with you and I know where you fall in my life. And we have an understanding based on how we operate with one another. Me, to be honest with you, operating within my roles, the role that I think I'm in has allowed my friendships to grow, in my opinion, or my relationships, I should say, because it's not just friendships, my relationships to grow. Now I don't outstep where I don't see fit. I know where I fall and I'm just like, all right, cool. We're good here.
Yeah. Have you noticed that a lot of people I've been seeing that they don't have any friends? Like, I feel like it's become a popular thing now. I'm like, I know you got friends, but why are you saying you ain't got friends?
Yeah, I do notice that. I think,
I wonder if it's because of that, where people just find that they have a lot of acquaintances or they know a lot of people, but they're going through seasons. So it seems like they have a lot of friends, but they're just like, nah, I'm just doing me right now kind of thing.
Or maybe they're not fulfilled in those relationships.
Yeah, they're not fulfilled.
I actually think that's probably what it is. Because sometimes you have relationships that like, it doesn't even matter the time or who they are in your life. Like if you're not connecting on a deep level, it can often feel like you have nobody.
Yeah.
Like just because you talk to someone on the phone, like you're checking in and stuff, doesn't mean that you have people that you can confide in. So I think it goes back to understanding like, what kind of friendship is this?
Yeah.
Is this an acquaintance? Is this a real friend? Because if you can't confide in certain people about some things, and not everything, because you don't want to put your business out there, but there's some friendships like you can't have certain conversations with, so then it kind of like keeps things surface level.
Right.
And oftentimes when things are surface level, you often feel alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, I don't think millennials or even Gen Z handle the distancing of relationships in a good way.
What do you mean?
Like, I think we ghost people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, you do.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Well, at least I did.
Yeah, you did. I should.
Yeah, but I think it's because
I did too. Let me not look at me judging you. I'm sorry. Maybe it is a millennial thing. I did too. Yeah.
I mean, not to
I
get
think it's because
into
we
too
don't
much
talk
detail.
about it and we don't know how to navigate like putting people in different seats.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't know how to do it. We think, okay, we're clearly not where we used to be. So I think it's just time that we just
dip.
And that's not always the. That's not
I feel
always
like
the right
stuff that
way to
happens
go.
when we're younger, though, not in adulthood. Now, as an adult, I don't think I do that. I would, y'all let me know. But I know definitely when I was younger, like teenage years, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's done. It was kind of like a breakup with a dude. It was just like, yeah, it's not going to work out. So we're done. I have done that. And I don't think it's right to do, honestly. Yeah, I don't think it's right to do.
Yeah.
But that actually brings me to the minivan theory that we had recently watched something about. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the minivan theory. I'm going to read the definition of it so you guys understand what it is. So it's a metaphor that's used for life, right? And it compares a minivan with multiple rows of seats. It suggests that people enter and exit your life like they would a minivan, with different people sitting in different seats and playing different roles. So it's not necessarily that you're ghosting people, but it's understanding that like, I bet you can't be in the front seat no more because I don't like the way you moving, we not vibing the same. We not on the same frequency. So you can't be up here with me. So the front row is the people that's in the front row. They set the direction, the mood, and the environment. So think of a minivan, and we heard this in the video where he said, think of when you're in the car, the person who's in the front seat, they're usually like helping you choose the music. If you make a wrong turn, they're making you notice it. So the people in your front row are helping you journey through life by setting the mood of your environment. So in other words, they're influencing you emotionally, they're influencing you mentally, and they're influencing how you move. So no matter how much you love someone, if they're not operating well in that role, you have to be able to recognize it and be like, yeah, I can't have you up here. Okay, so let's move on to the middle. Middle seat people continue to have conversations with each other, but they're not necessarily directing and setting the mood. So these are people like you may have been cool with for mad long, right? I have people that I've been friends with since I was a kid. They're still here, but we're not talking so often that you're able to help me navigate through the things that I'm going through. But you're still there where we're checking up on each other, and that's okay. Those are the middle seat people. Now, back row. Y'all still on a minivan though, okay? Just keep that in mind. You still in there. Back row people, they're there to enjoy the ride, but they don't directly contribute to any input. So honestly, when I think of back row, I think of like certain family members where it's like, you grew up with this person, you love them, you don't talk to them anymore. It's just like, I mean, we cool. I love you. There's no beef, but we just not the same.
Yeah.
You're here. I'm gonna see you on Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's kind of thing. But it's like we don't have that personal relationship.
Yeah.
So I think understanding that is a good way of not ghosting people.
Yeah.
And then if you do have to ghost people, now I think it's important to have a conversation or just let things happen naturally rather than like block.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's messed up, where it's just like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to touch on the signs that you may be outgrowing people, because that's important. Sometimes we're just like, we start to feel away rather than realizing like, yeah, we're just outgrowing each other.
It's part of the natural process.
It's part of the natural process, and that's okay. So you may feel unfulfilled or resentful. You don't share the same interests, morals, or beliefs. You no longer feel close to them. You hold back when sharing things with them. You complain about them to others. Ooh, that's not good. And to deal with that, you can have a conversation with them. You can reevaluate your expectations, adjust your communication with them, meaning like how often you talk to them, what you talk about with them, and how you communicate to them. You make space for new people. And the make space for new people is where I think I have been at the past couple years, where me being able to operate within the role that I'm at rather than over operating, you know what I mean, has allowed me to create the space for myself and also create the space to be open-minded in meeting new people. Because honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't want no new friends. I don't. I really do like the ones that I got. And even if we don't talk all the time, it's just like, I know what it is. I know your parents. I know what you come from. I know your beliefs. I know your family. Like, you know, like at this point, I don't even think that's a friend. I think that's more so like family, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, for me, the closest people to me that have been there for the ride, I'm like, your family. So if I don't talk to you for a minute, it's just like, we know what it is. You know, we don't really got to do all that. But I do think it's important to make space for new things.
Right.
And sometimes there are people holding space and taking time from your life that, if we're honest, don't deserve it. So being able to accept that and letting go is okay. That doesn't mean you don't love them. That doesn't mean that you don't value them. That doesn't mean that you can't check in. It just means I'm going to move different with you.
Right.
And that's what it is, because I need to make time and space for other things that's going to help me through this journey of evolving.
Right.
That's where I see it.
In 1990, 33% of U.S. adults reported having 10 or more close friends. By 2021, this figure had declined to 13%. So it went from 33% to 13%.
What years were these?
1990, and then they compared it to 2021.
Well, they should have compared it before 2019 when they ruined everybody's social life. How
And it
about
says
that?
the decline is more pronounced among men. Percentage of men without any close friends rose from 3% in 1990 to 15% in 2021. Women also experienced a decrease, though less severe, with those reporting no close friends increasing from 2% to 10% over the same time frame. So I think it goes to show that there's a change going on among friendships, and it could be that, you know, we have social media now, so there's access to a whole bunch of different people. But I love what you said about the van analogy, because just because you're not vibing with someone or you're not connecting with someone in the same way doesn't mean that you got to kick them out the van,
Right?
Or you got to just get rid of them wholeheartedly. I think that's, like I said, definitely the mistake that a lot of people have made, like we have made. But just be able to prioritize, know where you are in life, and know that you're in different seasons. This season, this person might be in the front seat. Next season, someone else might be in the front seat. And realistically, maybe in a particular season, no one's in the front seat.
That's another
It's all about, I think,
conversation.
recognizing that this is where I'm at, and I can look in the rearview mirror, see everybody. I can,
you know,
I can talk to them. I know they're there. I know they're good.
If you call them up, come up to the front real quick. They're there. Keep those people. The people when you call, no matter how far back they are, if you call them up to sit in the front seat and they come, those are the ones you keep. Okay, those are the loyal ones. But yeah, so ultimately, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, which you mentioned about, because I think you said in the stats, men friendships decline more. Yeah, and I think, sorry, men, but y'all struggle. Based on what I've seen and heard men say, I started to see, I'm noticing that men struggle a lot more in friendships than women do. And I think it has to do with your ability to vocalize and communicate with others and open up. But that's another conversation, because I've heard it way too often.
Yeah. Quickly, I think it's because women do seek friendship, where men seek fanship. So like I can bond
got
over
you.
you with certain topics. Like there's some people who they get together and watch basketball all the time, and they watch sports all the time, but they don't know each other intimately, and they're fine with that, you know.
Right.
So I think that's a different.
But that's
dynamic
okay, because I think
men and
women have that too. It goes back to the theory where like that person, they don't have to be in the front seat helping you navigate and set the mood, but that doesn't mean you can't vibe with them once in a while or go to an event with them once in a while. Those I think are more so the middle seat people. You know what I mean? You're having conversation with them, but they're not in there deeply in there.
Right.
So I think that's fine. I think women do that. I have that too, where there's like certain people where I'm like, okay, every quarter we kind of meet for lunch and we catch up and stuff. If we're interested in the same book or the same thing, we talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's not on some like, we're talking on a consistent basis every day, but we know what it is. We have that respect for one another and we know where we fall.
Right.
Okay. Understanding where you fall on the totem pole is very important. That has helped me a lot. I think that has freed me. Thank you, Jesus. Free yourself, guys. And we're out. Thank you for spending your time with us. We hope you gained some knowledge today that'll promote poise in your life. We have new episodes uploaded every Thursday right here, same place, same time. Until next time, you can follow us on Instagram at NOIRPOISED Podcast to stay connected. That's NOIRPOISED Podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback.
And remember, your wisdom is power.